All right, we're going to start the final review. For the first portion, all you're doing is looking at your vocab words and writing down the definition. These are the words that you need to know for your final. You must know all of these words. Identifying parts of a linear graph. That means that the graph is a line, which this graph is. Y-intercept to where it crosses the y-axis, which is right here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is at 0, -6. The y-intercept has a y value when the x value is 0. What type of slope is on the graph? So if we're talking about slope, man, this line is a positive slope. Then to be more specific, what is the slope? We need two pretty points. You could pick any pretty points that you want to. And slope is rise over run. So we're going up 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2. We did get a positive, which is what we should have gotten. Fantastic. 0, that's another vocab word, which means x-intercept. The x-intercept is right here at 1, 2, 3, 4. And because it's an x-intercept, it's the x value when the y is 0. Now that we've identified the parts of linear, we need to identify the parts of quadratics. The vertex, that's the turning point of the graph. It's either the highest or the lowest point right down here, which is at -3, -4. The axis of symmetry, this is the imaginary line that cuts the parabola into two congruent halves. It's the x value of the vertex. So x equals -3. If you don't include that x equals, it's not a line. It's just -3. Whereas the axis of symmetry has to be the entire line. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is the same thing as on linear. It's where it crosses the y-axis, which is here at 0, 5. Which of the following is a root of the function? Root, that's a vocab word. Math rocks. Roots, zeros, x-intercepts, they all mean the same thing. The x-intercepts of this function are at -5 and 1. The point -4, -3 is symmetric to what point? This is 1 away from the axis of symmetry, so 1 away from the axis of symmetry is the point -2, -3. Now we're going to get into what will be your multiple choice questions on your final. Some of them we left as multiple choice because it doesn't make sense to not have multiple choice. But the other ones, for the review purposes, it's free response. If you can do it where there's no answer choices, you will be fine when we give you answer choices. So which does not represent a function? That keyword is not. For function, you can't repeat your x's. X cannot repeat. We also have the vertical line test. So 3, 8, -3, that is a function. -2 to -1, 0 to 3, -5 to 6, 7 to 6. The x does not repeat, that is a function. -3, -2, 0, 2, and 3. X does not repeat, that is a function. Right here we have 1, 2, 3 points all in a row. This is not a function. Which sentence best describes the sequence? It's starting at 4, and then how do you get from 4 to 7? You add 3. 7 to 10, add 3. 10 to 13, add 3. So each term is 3 more than the term before it, starting with the number 4. It's not 3 less. That would be if you were subtracting 3. It's not 3 times. That would be if you did 4 times 3 is 12. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 more, that means you'd be adding 7. All right, an arithmetic sequence is described by the formula f sub n equals 128 plus 15, parentheses, n minus 1, close parentheses, and it wants us to find f of 12. Remember, Wakanda forever, this 12 is an x value. So you can do it by hand by manually replacing the number with 12. 128 plus 15, parentheses, instead of n, we put 12 minus 1. And then you would simplify. Or we can do it on our calculator. We're looking for the x value is 12. So if I go to y equals 128 plus 15, parentheses, x minus 1. And I am looking for where the x value is 12. And when the x value is 12, the answer is 293. All right, for this one, now the 3 is outside the parentheses. You're asking where this equation, this 1.5x minus 4 equals 3. You're asking where the y value is 3. So you can put it in your calculator and look for a y value of 3, or you can do it by hand. You could distribute 1.5x minus 1.5 times 4 is 6 equals 3. To get rid of a minus 6, you add 6, add 6. 1.5x equals 9. Divide by 1.5, divide by 1.5, x equals 6. Let's see if that's what matches in our calculator. You put in 1.5 parentheses x minus 4 into y1, and we're looking for where we get a 3, and yes, it is when the x value is 6. All right, what is the slope of a line perpendicular to this equation? So we know we're looking at the slope, this right here, and to make it perpendicular, you double flip. If you were in Miss Smith's class, you remember I didn't do one flip, I did 2 flips. You flip the sign and flip the fraction. So instead of negative, we make it positive, and instead of 2 over 3, you make it 3 over 2. That's it. Which equation below does not have distributing as its first solving steps? Distributing, hippity-hoppity distributive property. That's where you have to multiply to the parentheses. This one does, you're distributing a 5. This one, you're distributing a negative. This, you're distributing a 3. This one has nothing to distribute to. The cost of renting a car for one day at Cheapo Rentals is $39 plus 15 cents per mile. Anytime you see that per, each, or every, 0.15, you put it next to an X. In the graph of the situation, what does the cost per mile driven represent? We just said anytime you've got per, that is your slope. Per, each, or every tells you slope. What equation best represents the situation below if x represents the number of faucets replaced by the plumber? So it wants the equation. A plumber charges $60 for a travel fee and $140 for each, so that $140 is your slope, he replaces. Mr. Riley paid the plumber $760. So we've got this $60 plus that $140 each, and it equals $760. And that's your equation. What is the range? If you remember, the doctor's name is XY. Range means Y. This is discrete. And we know it's discrete because it's specific points. So all you're doing is listing out the Y values. You've got a 2, a 5, an 8, and an 11. What is the domain of the function shown on the graph? Domain, Dr. XY, so domain means X. And we've also got dealer. Domain is left to right. This function is continuous. We know that it's continuous because the line is connected. So we're going to have to use these symbols when talking about the X going from left to right. So I'm going to frame it. The left side is right here. The right side is right here. So the left side is at negative 3. I'm going to put the line underneath because that's a closed circle. And the right side is at 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is a closed circle, so we put the line underneath as well. All right, what is the slope of a line that is parallel? Parallel means same slope. Well, I don't know what the slope is here because I haven't solved for y. So I have to isolate opposite side. To move this to the opposite side, you do minus 8x. You write it side by side. And then divide by that 4. So we get y equals 64, 16, and then this is minus 2 over 1x, or you could say minus 2x. So the parallel means same slope, so that's this part in front of the x. So the same slope is just negative 2. Alyssa decided to use the substitution method to solve the system. Which of the following shows a correct substitution step? Now, I know a lot of people taught this different ways. I taught good news, bad news. You start with your bad news first. If I was to tell you, okay guys, I've got some good news and some bad news to tell you, what do you want to hear first? Most people like to hear the bad news first, so you end on a good note. So looking at these, I would say the bad news is this 3x plus 2y equals 15. That's just nasty. It's in standard form. I hate that. My good news is y equals negative x plus 4. And why is this good news? Because the y is by itself. They're telling us that y is the same thing as negative x plus 4. So when we're writing it, instead of y, you're going to put this box. So we would get 3x plus 2 parentheses, negative x plus 4 equals 15. Nolan wants to solve the system of equations by linear combination. What should he multiply the first equation by if he wants to eliminate the y terms? So what would eliminate with a positive 3? There's nothing up here right now, so it's just a 1. So we would want to multiply by a negative 3 to make it eliminate. And that's your answer. It's not asking you to actually solve it. It just is asking what you would multiply by to eliminate the y values. Which situation best represents is best represented by the system? Okay, anytime it's in front of that x, the slope, you know you're going to have per, each, or every. So Caleb has $10 in the bank and plans to add $45 more, sorry guys, each month. So that works. Raina has $60 more than Caleb. I don't see any eaches in that last sentence. It's not that. Sammy and Cody both need to have their cars repaired. To have them repaired, Sammy will pay $35 per, so 35x, okay, plus a towing fee of $60. Awesome. Cody will pay $10 per, so 10x. To join a tennis club, Bryce will pay $45 per, so that's the 45x, plus a $10 joining fee. Perfect. His former club costs $60 per, so 60x. Nope. Cameron is a designer who makes $45 per, so 45x, and receives a $10 travel allowance. Perfect. Tony is a financial consultant who gets a $60 expense allowance, so it's got that $60, and earns $35 per, so 35x. So that is your answer. Party Pizza charges $10 for a large pizza plus $150 per. Anytime you see per, that's your slope, so 150x. Jody wants to order one large pizza and spend a maximum of $20. Which of the following inequalities could Jody use to determine the number of toppings in she can have on her pizza? So we're starting with this $10 plus $150 per. And if it's a maximum of 20, it needs to be less than or equal to that $20. Which function represents direct variation? Direct variation is a vocab word. It's a linear relationship that can be modeled by y equals kx. Okay? So the reason why it can be modeled by y equals kx is because it has to go through the origin. It's linear and goes through 0, 0. Those are the requirements. So here, if this has a -2, that doesn't go through the origin. It's got a b value, so it's not a. Here, this is linear, but it's not going through the origin. It's not c. Here, it's going through the origin, but is that a straight line? No, that's a parabola. This is quadratic. It's not d. It has to be b. You could check it by taking y over x. 3 over 1 is 3. 6 over 2 is 3. 9 over 3 is 3. 12 over 4 is 3. When graphed, which function would appear to be shifted 5 units down? Okay, so if we're going down, it's not the IHOD part, it's not horizontal, it's over. It's a vertical change. So the number needs to be outside the parentheses, and it's exactly like you would think. So to make it go down 5, I'm going to subtract 5. So coming over here, I'm going to subtract 5 from that 3. So we get f of x equals x squared. 3 minus 5 is -2. What is the slope of each graph? Okay, so I've got to find some pretty points. I'm going up 1 over 2. Okay, pretty points. I'm going up 1 over 1. So 1.
I don't have an answer for that.
Thanks, Siri. It's okay, because I've got the answer. All right, here. Ooh, I don't know how to calculate that because I'm not going over at all. But you know what can tell me? Slope man. What do we call the slope of a line that looks like this, like the nose? Undefined. And remember, that's vux. It's a vertical line. It has an undefined slope. The equation would be x equals a number. This looks like the mouth. It has a slope of 0. That's a hoi. Horizontal line has 0 slope. It's y equals a number for your equation. Madison has 434 words of her research paper typed so far. To calculate how long it will take to type the paper, she uses this function. To find how many minutes, x, it will take her to type y words. What is the slope? It's the number in front of the x, so 31. And what does it represent? Well, we know it's got to have a per, each, or every, because that's what slope does. So it's going to be, what are we talking about? We're talking how many minutes, so it's going to be the words per minute. It's your y per x. Y words per x minutes. 41. What are the x and y intercepts of the graph? Okay, so you could just sketch, but it's not going to be exact. We've got to find a slope. So here's a point and here's a point. I'm going down 1 over 2. 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 So my y-intercept is at 0, 2. and my x-intercept, or my 0, or my root, is at 4, 0. Remember, the x-intercept has an x value, the y-intercept has a y value that matches up with 0. Graph a line with a y-intercept of -6, so the y-intercept is -6, and a slope of 2/3. This is your rise over your run. So I'm rising 2, running 3. Rising 2, running 3. Rising 2, running 3. Perfect. Which set of points includes only ordered pairs from the solution set? Okay, so they've already graphed it for us. It's shaded below because it's a less than. It's a solid line because it's got the line underneath. So all I have to do is plot these points. So 2, 2, that's on the line. That's okay because it's solid. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1. Nope. Because that point's not in the shaded area. All right, 0, 3, all good. 2, 2, all good. 5, +1. Nope. All right, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. +10, all good. 2, 1, all good. 10, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. 2, 2, yes. -5, 10, yes. 1, 2, yes. All of those points are in the shaded area. All right, what is the 0 of the graph? Remember, math rocks. Roots, zeros, x-intercepts. They all mean the same thing. The x-intercept is at -3, 0. Sam borrowed $200 from his brother and agreed to pay him the same amount each month until the loan is paid off. If it took 5 months for Sam to pay off the loan, what was the rate at which he paid his brother? So $200, and it took 5 months. It's asking for the rate, which is the slope. So there's some points. Okay. If you struggle with finding slope, you could just get some pretty points. There's one at 0, 200, 1, 160, 2, 120, and your calculator can do this for you. If you go to Stat, Edit, 0, 1, 2, 200, 160, 120. And I could have used any points that I wanted. So to get the equation, you do Stat, right, 4. The reason why we're doing 4 is because this is a line. So the equation is y equals -40x plus 200. So the part that's the rate is $40. He's paying $40 each month. All right, which of the following shows the strongest correlation? So correlation is how close the dots are together. So if I was to draw a trend line through each of these, C has the dots closest to my trend line. So that has the strongest correlation. What is the range? Doctor's name is XY, so range means Y. And we've also got robot. Range means bottom to top. So the bottom of this graph is at -4, but I'm not going to put the line underneath because it's an open circle. When it's an open circle, there's no line. And the top, you've got to go all the way to the top, not where the point is, at the very top. And the top is at +4. This time I do put the line because there's a point there. It's not an open circle. How would the graph of the function y equals x squared be affected if the function were changed to y equals x plus 7 squared? Okay, so I know my rules, but let's just say I don't. Okay, so I could go on my calculator, put y equals x squared in y1, and they're asking for x plus 7 squared. And let's look at the graph. So there's the original, and there's my new one. It was here. It went here. It went left. And what number do you think it is? Oh, maybe the number that's there? 7. Now, if you remember your rules, we've got IHOD over. This 7 is inside parentheses. So we know that it's got to be a horizontal change. Horizontal means left or right. And it's the opposite of what you would think. So plus is actually going to make you go left. What is the inequality in slope-intercept form? So all we're doing is solving for y. Isolate opposite sides. So to move a 3x, we do minus 3x. And you write it side by side. So we have negative 4y less than 12 minus 3x. And the final step is to divide. You divide each part by negative 4. Wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo. Why am I wee-oo-wee-ooing? Because I'm dividing by a negative. And if you'll remember with inequalities, when we divide by a negative, you flip that inequality sign. It's no longer less than, now it's greater than. 12 divided by negative 4 is a negative 3. Negative and a negative is a positive 3/4 x. We're used to seeing it with the slope first, so I'm going to rewrite it. Y is greater than 3/4 x minus 3. Perfect. Make sure you give this to your teacher on the day that you come in to take your final so you can get your 10 extra points.